My name is Cindy Tysinger, and I am the founder and chief culture officer of Regenrus. And we're all about being generous to the world and being a business that is good for the world. And we like to honor and celebrate really unique and special people that are in our lives that are truly heroes and inspire us by the things that they're doing to really make a difference in this world and change things that need to be changed in order for, our humanity and everything to continue to flourish and for current generations and future generations. So when I thought of Earth Month, which is what we're celebrating at Regenrus Cares this month, is we are donating 4% of all of our proceeds to earth.org this month. We needed the best speaker I could think of, and it was my dear friend Nev Hyman. I was really grateful to have met him through our mutual friend Carol Montgomery, who's on the call, who is a beautiful story. I wish we had a lot to go into it. I can brief. She met him on an airplane, and sparks happened, and things have transpired and manifested as a result of those sparks, and kind of tripled all over the world, but as well as in many of the states in the U.S. And I had the pleasure of hosting Nev in my home for a couple of weeks, a couple of times, and looking to the work that he's doing. My community and where our business is very much a green community, and we're 100% renewable energy. Everything we're doing is all around what Nev's doing. So I'm really hoping that what he's going to share with you tonight, that we'll end up with one of these plants in Denton, Texas. But Nev is just an amazing human being. He has a heart that is just incredible for everyone and anyone. He knows no strangers. He just is just a joy to be around. So I know I'm honored that you're here tonight with us, Nev, and I'm going to turn this call over to our Chief Innovation Officer, Brian Mariani, to start the interview and talk about all the great things that you're up to. Take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for your great vision and this platform that you've created for all of us to let some of these lights shine. And tonight we have a very bright light in Nev Hyman, and I'm just so excited for him to share what he's up to in the world with all of you. And this Limitless call really is a very special place, something that we believe a lot in, that is so much bigger than anything that we do at Regenrus. Regenrus is a place for like-minded hearts and minds and ideas to grow and flourish. And we wanted to put in place a call that really gave opportunity for that. So what you'll hear tonight from Nev is one of those opportunities that's in place, that's happening on a global scale, that anybody can tap into and know that they're making a difference in the world. And that's what this call is about. When I looked at the definition of limitless, it literally said without end, limit, or boundary. And if you all can see this picture behind me, you'll see a still pond with some very slight ripples. And that's what we're doing tonight with Nev. We're hoping that this call will start a ripple effect with the people here, with all of you, with people that you open your heart to share this information and this call with, so that literally what we do tonight over the next 30 minutes can literally have a global impact. And Nev, I appreciate you so much, what you do, who you are, and I'm so excited for you to share that with us tonight. So for those that don't know you, please just give us an idea of who you are and how you've come to be on our Limitless call tonight.
Sure, thanks, Brian. Thanks, Cindy. Well, I'm just a ginger from Western Australia that happened to live around the ocean my whole life. So the bottom line is that I started surfing at a young age, and around about 16 or 17, I took off around the world, surfing some pretty pristine places on the planet in the mid-70s to late 70s. And but around about 1992, I was in New Caledonia and came across plastic on the beach beaches of New Caledonia. I thought a boat had gone down. This was before we even realised that there was anything with an issue about plastic. But being involved around the ocean gave me a sense of the environment, you know, and that's nothing special. That happens with people that like the outdoors. And but I developed surfboard companies around the world. One was called Nev Future Shapes. The other one became Firewire Surfboards. And the famous 11 times world surfing champion Kelly Slater bought that company in 2015. In 2004, I invested in a plastics recycling company with the idea that maybe I could do something. It was more of a passive investment sort of scenario, but that ended up being consuming my life for a whole bunch of reasons, which I won't go into, but some of them were environmental, some of them were personal, some of them were financial, but it became an all-encompassing thing, so much so that I actually exited the surfboard industry and put all my focus from 2004, well, really from 2010 to 2013. 2013, Nev House was born. And it was the idea that we could take low-grade plastic and turn it into composite panels to build affordable housing for the poor. It's been a tough journey. It's been a long one. And we are now at the precipice of some incredibly exciting things that I'd like to share with you. You know, I could talk a lot about my past and all that sort of stuff. We've all got interesting pasts. You know, there's nothing special about what I do apart from the fact that it's just a little more exotic, that I spent my whole life around surfing and having a lot of fun. I apologise for that, but it's been a great journey, and it's taught me a lot. I never set out to be an environmentalist. I never set out to do that, but I found my place. They say each of us have a calling. My calling wasn't necessarily to make surfboards and make people happy that they ride waves. I think if I have a calling, it is to try and make a difference with the environment and also the people that have got less from us. So I'd like to say that Nev House is a social, economic and environmental solution to the need for affordable housing. And that's an absolute no-brainer. The biggest industry on the planet is housing, bar none. So, and the needs are ridiculous for housing. So we all know that. I'm preaching to the converted to a point. So I'm not going to labour that point. But what I'll do is I'll just start with this presentation that I have. I'll share screen now. And whatever I share now, I can share with you later. So if you're not, if I'm going through it too quickly because of the limited time that we have, be comfortable that the fact that you'll be able to have a look at these documents and have a better look at what we're doing. And I am going to show you a short video about something that's really, really close to my heart, and something that is a great example of what we could all do together to make a difference for those with less than us. And my battery, I'm going to have to plug in my phone. Excuse me a second. So that because we don't want my phone dying. So here we go. Here's technical problem number.
And Nev, you know, feel free to take 30 seconds, plug in your phone, get the screen share set up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being you. It was such I had this beautiful picture in my mind as you were sharing of you being in a place that you love, that's so dear to your heart, the water and the ocean and surfing, and you saw an issue in your environment that you loved, and you decided to do something on a global scale to help solve that problem. And it's really, it's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and you're following your path in your heart. And I know I'm excited to get to see the details of what you're up to here.
Nev House is about repurposing by redesign. And whoops. So we have to think different about the plastic problem. And all of that plastic you see in that picture was being shipped off to China, as we all know. Again, I'm not going to labour these points because we're all aware of this. I don't need to tell the same old story that we've been hearing a lot. But the issue about plastic has actually gone onto the back burner to a point because of COVID and all the discussion around the world about what's happening around the world. But 2 years ago, plastic was the biggest topic on the planet. Everybody was talking about it. So we all know we need to act now. Of course we do. We all know that there's a problem in the environment. And before, just really briefly, if the world's focus was on stopping plastic waste from entering the environment, not trying to clean up the Pacific or from plastic that's in the Pacific, but stopping it from going into the environment in the first place, we would not have a problem with plastic in the Pacific. So if all that money, energy, technology was spent on empowering people to actually be paid to pick up the plastic, that's what I'm leading to here, ultimately. So we can turn kind of that waste into shelter. Now, what we've done is we can take this plastic waste that's actually floating in the environment. We can grind and shred that plastic into small particles, put it into a silo, and use it as part of the mix to make composite panels, not bricks, not what you might see where people are melding the plastic together into a solid brick and making them out of Colombia and places like that. There's a few technical issues why that's, to me, not a great idea. I'll explain that in a moment. But we can take those composite panels and build housing for the poor or ADUs for a granny flat in your backyard or homes for the homeless. When I was with Cindy in Denton, Dallas, we met with the city, and also whilst I was in Knoxville, we met with the city about the homeless issues around those areas. And it would be an absolute dream of mine to actually provide 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom ADUs for the homeless. There's so many other iterations of what this is, because it is a flat pack, rapidly deployed, Category 5 rated, hurricane rated structure that is low maintenance, no concrete, no rendering, no painting, etc. So a lot of these images here are not homes that we have built. Some of them are, but it just goes to show you that the main thing about Nev House is it's architecture and materials. Well, so is all things, but the architecture is very important. That's one of our unique things that we won the Good Design Awards in Australia for having, and I'll explain that as briefly as I can a little bit further forward. Of course, post-disaster, there's disasters all over the US all the time, the Caribbean, around the world. So we've delivered in Vanuatu. A lot of you possibly know that already. So proof of concept was to deliver, say, for example, the image in the middle, which was a medical clinic for a remote region of Tanna Island in Vanuatu, one of the most incredible communities, Indigenous communities I've ever seen. And it's only 2.5 hours flight from Sydney. And it's just amazing. But totally devastated by Hurricane Pam in 2015. Here we have the locals actually helping to build these structures. We built 15 of these structures in about 4.5 weeks, but we built these 3 structures, these 3 classrooms, which you can see they're all shuttered down because they can withstand a Category 5 cyclone, and they're regarded as being safe houses. They're not Nev houses, they're safe houses. So the Prime Minister of Vanuatu didn't want homes, he wanted safe community centres. So we built those in 5 days. As I said before, we've won the Good Design Awards in Australia for sustainability, architecture and social innovation. And there's a whole bunch of backstory to that. Repurpose unsorted, unclean plastic waste into shelter. This does not mean that we take all of that stuff floating in the Pacific and all those bags of plastic and make panels from that plastic waste. We take that plastic waste, we shred and grind it and put it into a silo, and we take a percentage of that plastic waste as part of the master mix of making the panels. This is, technically speaking, this is a brief overview that our process, because it's a molding process, not an extrusion process, we can use contaminated material much better than other uses such as extrusion, etc. If you have any understanding of that, you'll know what I mean. If you don't, you can read this later. And we use that plastic waste to turn it into these particular profiles and panels. And whilst we're making panels for homes, we don't necessarily have to make them for homes. We actually did, I met with Clayton Homes, thanks to Carol, in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they were very excited, not so much about Nev House per se, the flat pack deliverable that I just explained, but more about, could you make some of the components for Clayton Homes? And of course we can. It's not my preferred option, but we set up a plant anywhere in the world, or let's say in Tennessee with MBL, which I'll explain that in a moment, then we could actually make other things that are not as potentially complicated as paneling for housing, but such as formwork board for the construction industry, for hoarding boards around construction sites, and all sorts of other myriad of things. So that's a plan B. It's a very profitable, very safe business opportunity to create these products. And it's all about providing shelter for people. And I don't need to elaborate there. It's a shelter for the Indigenous, shelter for the homeless, shelter for aged care, for eco studios, for eco resorts and all that sort of thing too. It's because it's a modular construction. The applications are endless. So I'm just going to show you that. I did kind of rush through that. I hope you don't mind. But I want to show you this other document that is here somewhere. Where did it go? So I'm going to have to pull this one. It went. Oh no, I know where it is. It should be here, and it is there. Okay, so this is a different format, but I'll just take you through some of the same things that we just explained. We've just achieved Category 5 rating, hurricane rating, for a structure that can be built in 2 days. A modular flat pack construction that can be delivered anywhere in the world, whether on, in containers, or it could be dropped in with a chopper, etc. Built in 2 days, and it would withstand a Category 5 cyclone. To get that took us about 2 years. I mean, it's very complicated for something that's not tied down to concrete. There's no concrete slab with our construction. There's 3 elements. There's a screw pile that goes into the ground. There's a portal frame that goes around from the screw pile to screw pile, and then the panels that go in between. I'm jumping through that, but you can have these documents later. Like we showed before, you can see the components there, how it's all put together. We built that house on the beach at Noosa, on the Sunshine Coast. It took a day to build it, and we took it down in 5 hours. So it was then flat packed and taken away. We're currently, the top line of panels you see, it's called a SIP panel, a structural integrated insulated panel. And those panels can be any configuration, but they make up the I have to talk in meters, I'm sorry, 3 meters by 3 meter, or 6 meter by 6 meter, or 6 meter by 9 meters, or 6 by 12. So it's just an iteration of a module. And some information there just about how the factory works, and some information about Tennessee, about the amount of waste in Tennessee, and the global production of plastic. And to be honest, there's not enough plastic on the planet to build the amount of homes that are required. And I like to say plastic is not evil, it is the improper disposal of plastic that is. So let's not get your knickers in a twist about how bad plastic is. If it wasn't for plastic, we probably wouldn't be around as a species right now. We'd be still living in some form of whatever. I mean, just go to a hospital. Plastic means a lot. So I know that's a very vague and overview of the importance of plastic in our lives, but it's true. We need plastic. I'm in negotiation with a couple of guys on the call here today with a company called MBL in Scott County in Tennessee. And I'm super excited, and I believe they are too, that we will be collaborating on building the first plant in the US in partnership with them, because they have a unique waste technology where they need our use of the redundant plastic waste that they don't need or want. And the combination, sorry, somebody tried to call me, and I'll see if we can come back. the combination of our technologies will be quite an exciting thing for the US and for the world. So I'm very excited to be talking with Matt, Linda, and Duke and the guys about collaborating in Tennessee. So they've already put aside a site for us, and yeah, I'm over the moon about that opportunity, and we're currently in negotiation. That is that presentation. Now, I just want to share with you a quick video. Hi, I'd like to tell you a bit of a never-ending story. The story of an amazing people living on a little island in the middle of the Pacific that actually looks like Neverland, if you can imagine. These people were gravely affected by Cyclone Pam in 2015, and they've dodged a bullet every year since. I went there soon after the cyclone and actually checked out the damage, couldn't believe what I saw, met with the people, took them surfing, of all things. And I promised that I and my company would come back one day soon and help to rebuild this island and provide shelter from Category 5 cyclones that pass through there all the time. These poor people, when you see the images of this little island, you will be blown away. How can people live in such a remote region and be so happy? 2 people died there on that island during Cyclone Pam. I want to go back. I desperately want to go back. I want to help these people, and I know that when you see what I'm about to show you, you will too. So they only have a little boat to get back and forth to the mainland, 2.5 hours over the open ocean. And I, as a surfer, was nervous about whether I was going to make it to this island. It's an epic little tale about Neverland, and the island is called Mataso, the proud people of Mataso. And I want you to help me go back there and give these people shelter, give these people some dignity, give these people an industry, fishing of all things, give them a boat, the boat that you see in the video that I travelled in with my good buddy Dave from the UK. There's a banana boat with a 40 horsepower on the back, 2.5 hours through open ocean. And that's what these people have to deal with when they're going back and forth to the mainland of Afate in Vanuatu. So please help me help them. Watch the video. I'm sure it'll tug at your heartstrings. Thank you.
People that want to do good to come and talk and talk and talk and then leave and do nothing. Yeah, well, this is not our intention. Because this island needs homes, real homes, and they need shelters, something that's going to withstand a cyclone again. Nothing here is safe. If there's a cyclone, all this steel, all this tin will go through and cut trees in half. A A woman died here?
It's my mother.
Oh my God.
She's my real mother. She's with me, but I have 3 children. I ran away with 3 children. So when the wind blows them, they separate. So it is exactly 6 months.
Nothing has happened.
Yeah, and 2 months away before the cyclone season. And our question and our concern to the people is, if there is a cyclone tomorrow, where would they hide? We all nearly to die, but we need to live.
Yeah.
We need to live.
This island is spectacular, but you must be patient with us. We have to tell your story.
Look at that.
This is a surfing contest and I'm the only guy. I'm going to win.
And from whoever would like to help us to do anything, we are always glad and we are always patient. Our trust is with you.
As a company, we are looking to build our facilities to take plastic waste in the US and turn it into housing, etc. Globally, we are looking at establishing our plants in strategic places around the world, but the aim is to have our ability to take plastic waste and turn it into products in every community around the world. Our facilities can be built to be quite small, so they can most definitely be set up in local regions. The reason I just played that is this little island. It's actually Earth Month, as we know, thanks Cindy, and that logo Nev Earth was something that we started with quite a while ago. So the fact is that we want to bring attention to the plight of people like these people living on this little island. Now, this island itself is like a microcosm of the planet. The 17 sustainable goals for the planet have been designed to, resolve the issues globally. But instead of resolving the issues globally for the whole planet, I want to focus on one tiny little island that is actually a microcosm of the planet. You've got these people, there were over the hundreds of years, 400 people living on this island with 3 or 4 tribes living on the island who were actually at war with each other on that tiny little island. And then recently there was up to 150 or more people living on that island. Now there's 50. One day there will be nobody living on that island. It's so vulnerable, it's ridiculous. And the island is so beautiful, it's ridiculous. And we have an opportunity that I promised 5 years ago to come back and fix that island and help those people. Can you imagine another Category 5 cyclone going through that sea level bit of land that is actually... So the aim is to raise capital. We've got a program happening in 7 days on April the 22nd, and that's Earth Day, with some pretty influential people globally, like this group here, ARC 2030. So we're working with them. We're working with the Hera Foundation, which is Hera City. Hera is a women's empowerment movement where they want to build cities globally and villages with an emphasis on the feminine. We're working with a number of groups that want to bring together a solution for this little island, but that little island becomes an example of what we can do elsewhere. How does that relate to our system of taking plastic waste out of the ocean? Well, we can put a plant in Vanuatu to take the plastic from the South Pacific and turn it into panels for housing in all these little villages. So there is an opportunity for people to it's an invite-only scenario on the 22nd, and I would like to invite people to come along to that. It is a crowdfunding type scenario to raise the money we need to deal with this. And that's as I showed you here. This is what we want to give the people in in Vanuatu, you know, a boat to go back and forth. Instead of 2.5 hours in a rickety boat, they can go back in half an hour. If that boat was on that island after Cyclone Pam, that lady would not have died. The lady who died, the mother of that young man, she died after the 6th day. The 7th day, the chopper came in. It was too late. The boat there, see the little old lady getting on the boat? She's getting on a boat to go between there and that island you can see in the distance that took me 2.5 hours in open ocean. And that little old lady, they do it all the time, and they lose people all the time. Here's the 17 sustainable goals. We can, every one of those things we can do for this island, which means that we can do it for other places. We can do it for an Indian reservation in the US. You know, we can do it for the homeless. We can do it for a family in Ghana. This is just an example of what we can do. And we're looking for the support. So here's the island from, you know, from a distance. There's the island before and after Cyclone Pam. There's the day after the hurricane. And here's the grave of the lady who passed away. Just so tragic. And there's me standing on top of the island. So I want us one day to be standing on top of an island, figuratively speaking, and being proud of what we've delivered, people that have got less than us. So that's me. And I'm open to questions and all that sort of thing, or any comment now from anybody on the scenario.
Thank you so much, Nev. Just absolutely a clear picture for anyone to take action with, and it's just incredible to see so much that's already been done. I mean, you've put years and years and built partnerships so that the foundation is built, and now we just need to collaborate and lock arms with like-minded hearts and minds to take action and make this happen. And I love the idea of just taking this island as an example and saying, look, we can do it. Look what we did here. And that'll get the attention of more and more people. And, you know, it's all about taking the first step. You know, we don't need to fix the world tomorrow. That would be great, but let's just take a step.
We need something that tugs at your heartstrings. And we could take a community in Australia, an Aboriginal community, and say, this is what we want to do. And maybe a certain percentage of the world will go, oh, that's nice. But this island, I'm telling you, when I was going punching through the surf, through the waves to get to this island at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, seriously considering that I had a surfboard on the boat, right? Because I thought there could be some waves on the boat. And I had a drone case. And the guy that I had with me, he was from the UK. I didn't even know if he could swim. And we didn't know. There was no life jackets on the boat. There are no life jackets. And I was thinking, I'm going to give Dave the board and I'm going to grab and chuck the drone out and close the drone case and jump in, and then I'll be fine, you know. It was amazing. That's what those people have to deal with. It's so the point being is that when it appeared in the distance through the mist of the ocean, it looked like Neverland. It looked like something straight out of Peter Pan. It's an incredible opportunity to tell a story. I guess that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah, I think that's what moves people, right? A story. And you told it beautifully tonight, and let's keep telling it over and over. That's really the invitation to everyone gathered here. Let's keep telling this story. So if you're out there tonight, start waving at me if you have a comment for Nev or a question, and we'd love to hear from you. It's always fun. Jessica, I see you.
Actually, this is pertaining to something that Kimberly shared with us earlier today, that I think, you know, not only seeing those children in the video definitely tug at the heartstrings, but also understanding the reality that we are facing if we continue to go the direction that we're going. And I think it was, Kimberly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was, if we keep putting plastics into our ocean, we're going to have, was it more than fish in weight by 2050? I mean, that's insane. That's 30 years from now, and that's a big ocean. So to say that we're going to have more plastic in weight than fish in the ocean is just daunting.
But guess what? You know, and I haven't spoken about this, but really briefly, I mentioned before, the solution is stopping the plastic waste going in the ocean. So how we're going to do that in two ways. In developing nations, we're going to be able to negotiate with the waste management companies, which I've already spoken to in Knoxville, Tennessee, and in Denton, Dallas, and working with Matt and the guys at MBL for taking that plastic waste. It's going to go to landfill. Now, if it's in landfill, it's not going to reach the ocean. In some cases, it does. You know, I was in Honduras a couple of years ago and saw a landfill that was seeping into the ocean because they have no waste management. I've been on more landfills than you could possibly imagine. I've been on the one in Mozambique where 30 people were killed because the landfill collapsed after a flood. I've been in Peru meeting with the environmental minister. And so I understand landfill. But from the large waste management companies, there's a solution that we can take that plastic waste and turn it into something good. Simple. In a developing nation, the irony, so in a developed nation, we will be paid to take that waste now. Whereas 5 years ago, I would have had to pay $200 to $300, maybe $400 a ton to buy the plastic waste because China was taking it. Now those same municipalities and companies will pay us to take the waste. Then if you flip it and go to the developing nation, we're not going to be paid to take the waste. We're going to pay the locals to pick up the plastic waste. And I'm working with the Plastic Bank, with the 4Ocean, all these initiatives. And I met with the pickers, the Pumulon, the scavengers in all around the world, but let's just say Bali a couple of years ago. And if we pay an individual in Bali 5,000 rupiah for a kilo of plastic, and they put that in a 10-kilo bag, that's 50,000 rupiah, which is about $3, $4. That's enough to feed a Balinese family for a day or two. Now, that means that they will wait at high tide, waiting for that plastic to wash up on the beach. They'll go down the street and dig out of the bush, the plastic they threw into the bush. They'll take that home. It'll be ground and shredded. I'm talking with Nestle, with Coca-Cola, with Danone. You know, I'm having conversations with these multinationals with the idea that if they pay for a plant to be established, then they can say that we are actually collecting all the plastic waste in this local developing nations area and turning it into product. So it's a win-win situation. So the idea is to stop it. If you commoditize low-grade plastic waste, it will stop plastic waste going into the ocean. Simple.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that, Nev, because you're empowering people, right?
Yeah.
You're empowering from the source, and it's just, I love it, and it's in process. So that's awesome. We did have a question come in through chat, and it says, Nev, can you comment on alignment of standalone structures with US building codes requirements and standards? Do you have village layouts ready to go that take basic water, electric, energy into consideration, such that a city could have a ready to build package that would be code compliant?
Oh, well, yes and no. Okay, so we've just achieved in Australia, Australian Building Code and Category 5 rating. That's the Australian Building Code is probably one of the toughest in the world to achieve. So we can now build Nev House in Australian communities, in the South Pacific, etc. For us to then have that code transferred into the US Building Code, of course, we have to jump through all the hoops. We have to do all those things. And we have no doubt that we will achieve those codes. There's one particular structural element about Nev House, that our panel system that goes in between the portal frames is designed in a way where it is structural, and it in itself can become a structural panel for a house. We're in an area where there's no requirement for Category 5, so we can dumb it down. As far as building a community, it's always been, if you want to build affordable housing and you take the normal model, you have to find a block of land, whether it's in a city or outside of the city. You have to do the civil works, put all the roads and the sewerage and everything in. And therefore, to get true affordable housing, you have to go up or tight and all these sort of scenarios. But if you have the example, if you Google Centre Park with a spelt with a C, so Centre Park, that is an initiative throughout Europe, the UK and Holland mainly. And it is a tourist park scenario, but it's a great example of what we want to do. That is a community that is built around being completely off the grid. So we will bring in containerized sanitation, the energy systems for the power, the water, if water cannot be brought to the site. These solutions are almost a dime a dozen now. We've got the solutions, we can deliver them. And if you have a community that you park outside, you literally, no cars, so therefore you don't need roads. You park outside, you walk in, or you ride your bike in, or you drive your golf buggy down the boardwalks to your home, and your home might be a 1 or 2 or bedroom cabin around the water, beautifully landscaped. In the middle, you'll have a shopping centre and all the things. And ultimately, from our perspective, if you go to my website, you will understand what I'm talking about here, is that we want to introduce entertainment from the perspective of surfing, surf lakes. So have a look at the link to the Nev Earth Opportunity Zone Fund that has information about surf lakes. So to a depressed community, we bring entertainment, we bring the ocean, we bring jobs, we bring a community that doesn't require I was in New York about 4 or 5 years ago. I was in the top level of the S&P Poor building in New York, overlooking Brooklyn. And the wife of one of the mayors, I can't remember which mayor, of New York City, asked me and pointed to a block of land across over in Brooklyn, which is probably now being built on, and said, what could you do on that block? And I looked at it and said, look, we could put probably maybe 15 or 20 one cab, 400 square foot Nev houses, bring in some master planning greenery, some green space, bring in sanitation, bring in power if we needed to. Obviously, we probably wouldn't need to, and bring in water to that little site. It was with Emblem Health who were there, and they said that they would bring in the care, and we would have a homeless solution on that block of land. But in 6 months' time or 6 years' time, that site could be, everything on that site could be dismantled and moved to another site. So that's my vision of, and it's not a unique vision, but that's my vision of creating communities on using a rapidly deployed structure that can be built in 2 or 3 days and taken down in 2 or 3 days and leave no environmental footprint.
I love it. Thank you for that great question, Mike. Anyone else with a question or comment for Nev? You can just start waving or anything of that nature. Yes, Steve. You're still muted.
Steve, I just asked to unmute you.
Oh.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. I just, as it relates to codes here in America, I'm just curious about the insulation value of the nav panel.
A great question. And briefly, there's, as you know, because we've spoken before, as you know, yes. The European building code, for example, has, and I haven't had a lot of experience in the US, but in Europe, you have to achieve passive design. You have to achieve the zero energy envelope. So with the design of Nev House being a 3-meter module, in other words, it's every module is exactly the same, then it's very easy from an engineering and an architectural point of view to make that a structure that no air can escape. So in a cold climate or a very hot climate, it can be 40 degrees below outside and 22 degrees inside with limited heating, and then the reverse for hot temperatures. So to achieve that goal, is really, I worked with a group in Luxembourg who were the world leaders for passive design. And they basically said, Nev, don't even worry about it. What you have as a design here, we can deal with the thermal properties of that. Now, the panel itself is designed to be either a single skin panel for a tropical environment where there's no need for that, but design the panel so that there's thermal flow running in through the floorboards of the house, out through the louvers, and you get this beautiful thermal flow through the building for let's say a poor family that can't afford air conditioning and things like that. Of course, in a hot tropical environment like Fiji, where there are people that have got money, then they're going to have aircon and they're going to have their louvers, but they don't need thermal property for their walls. It still can be a single skin scenario. In temperate climates, each panel has the outer skin, which is our material, and then the inner skin is a thermal barrier. It's actually called starboard. We can use other materials. Well, I'd love to use what you do, because the use of hemp and other materials to give thermal protection on that internal panel is absolutely doable. All it is our panel. It comes ex-factory, and instead of it being a single skin panel, the reverse side of the panel has the thermal property, which has incredible fire and acoustic relevance too. That's finished, it's painted and rendered, and it gets delivered flat pack, and the panel goes into that place, into that position within a matter of minutes.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
It was certainly on my mind as well. And I love that, you can diversify with options and, go green and utilize such important ingredients to create and impact lives around the world. So I think for the sake of our time tonight, we'll wrap up the questions there. Thank you everyone for participating, for connecting live tonight, for creating this moment in time and collaborating to impact lives and be a force for good in the world. And Nev, for doing what you do, really creating an opportunity for us all to take action and participate. It's an honor to be involved and to create with you. And I'd love personally, and for everyone here, if you could give us a direction to take action. If you had, a minute to say, here's what I invite you to do next. I think that would be really impactful for us. And as we share this message out, what's the next step for all of us?
Yeah. And I'd just like to add, from a technical sort of business point of view, please go to my website, have a look at the link to the Nev Earth Opportunity Zone Fund. We went to a great deal of trouble. In late 2019, I met with a guy in California, Lance Bowling, and he introduced the idea of the Opportunity Zone Fund. It's genius as far as I'm concerned. Now, of course, COVID came into play in the elections and all sorts of drama. So we lost a year, but here we are, we're ready. And the purpose for saying this is that if you know of individuals who have, unrealized capital gain, and they have a capital gains tax issue, then they actually can invest into our Opportunity Zone Fund, which then gives them, if they hold that investment for 3 to 5 years, they get a significant discount on their capital gain that they will have to pay. If they hold that investment for 10 years, they don't pay any capital gain on the original investment, nor do they pay any capital gain on the 10 years they hold it. And those funds are put into the fund, and then we use those funds to build our facility, our CRPP facilities in depressed areas of the US and its territories, which will be incredible. We're ready to do that. We're also ready for action with MBL, as we discussed earlier, as far as independent of the Opportunity Zone Fund. But my message is, if you know wealthy people or companies that have got a capital gains tax scenario, just show them the Nev Earth Opportunity Zone Fund, and we could fast track this.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Nev, for your vision and your creation of something for us all to move with. And thank you all for participating in our live event. Please do share this. The invitation for this Limitless call is that we get to participate in something live, but this is much bigger and greater than this little moment in time. Please share this with someone that you love, friends, family, anyone that has a heart like yours that wants to make a difference in the world. And we just so appreciate all of you. Thank you for being part of our Limitless call powered by Regenrus. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you, Nev.